But then they got to the product we were all waiting for, the $19 Apple polishing microfiber cloth.
Beautiful.
I can't believe it's on sale separately.
Perfect. Yeah.
It's basically the cloth that came with the Pro Display XDR.
The XDR, yeah.
It's got a whole compatibility list on their site.
That was so good. If you haven't seen yet, Quinn posted it, or you can just go to the Apple site. But the polishing cloth, somebody took the time to put in what it's compatible with. And the best part is it's not compatible with all iPhones.
It's incredible.
I almost wonder if there's something specific. Like I was trying to figure out if that's when like Gorilla Glass started or Ceramic Shield started. It ends right around the first iPhone SE, and nothing before that is
so
quote
weird.
unquote compatible.
Yeah, you got to have the latest iOS to use this microfiber cloth.
Yeah, right. iOS 13 only. But
wow.
Yeah, so that was good. But for real, M1 MacBooks.
M1 Pro and M1 Max. So I don't know. I guess I'll start with the chips, then get to the MacBook Pros, because it's a whole lot altogether, and they're a package. So M1 Pro and M1 Max are the upgraded versions, higher-end versions of Apple Silicon. I've also explained all of this in an MKBHD full video, but essentially they're much bigger GPUs.
Yeah.
Much beefier on the GPU side. The M1 stuff was great. It wasn't super heavy on the GPU because these were replacing machines that didn't have dedicated GPUs. So it's integrated. That's cool. Now we get these big GPU cores. So M1 Pro, 14 or 16 GPU cores. Much bigger GPU, and it's a physically larger chip going into this machine. And then there's M1 Max, which again is 10 CPU cores, but it's doubling that GPU again. So an even physically bigger chip, but way more GPU. And we're starting to get these crazy numbers, like the memory bandwidth numbers are 200 or 400 gigabytes per second.
Yeah.
Up to 32 gigs of memory on M1 Pro or 64 gigs on M1 Max. I think they're being equated to like a RTX 3080. A desktop RTX 3080?
I didn't hear that. I'm sure a lot of people are rolling their eyes at that sentence.
It's just pure numbers right now.
Exactly.
No one really has compared them or benchmarked them against anything.
And if we want to compare real quick, the M1, the original M1, that is 8 CPU cores, 7 or 8 GPU cores, 68 gigs of memory bandwidth, and 16 gigs of max memory.
Yeah.
So we're talking like double or triple between the M1 Pro and the M1 Max.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of M1, especially in this computer I've been dailying for a while, the 13-inch M1 MacBook Pro, because of its efficiency. It's got incredible battery life, but it's also got great single core, great snappy performance, so that's all good. But these are just much more powerful chips. So they're appropriate for higher end machines, and the only thing they show them up in is MacBook Pros. I was kind of curious if we'd see an upgraded iMac, like a 27-inch iMac
or even a Mac Mini.
Or a Mac Mini, exactly. I could see it in some other stuff too, but it's just MacBook Pros that we got. Maybe there's another event coming for the rest of that stuff.
Jeez.
But, okay, the MacBook Pros.
M1 Pro and M1 Max represent a huge leap forward in silicon for Pro systems. And our teams have been hard at work designing a brand new MacBook Pro that can take full advantage of that incredible performance and capability.
I love it. They basically just redesigned. They went backwards by like 5 years and
reimagined
everything about it.
Reimagined, yeah.
So 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro. Really liking both of the designs. So the design, first of all, it does have a slightly new shape, and it really reminds me of like those older clamshells, not the iBook, the PowerBooks.
Yeah.
The PowerBooks. And I think that's very intentional, and the whole design sort of fits around that. So it's cool. The footprints are about the same as the 13-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro. But we have ports now, first of all. I'm trying to figure out where to start. We have ports.
Yeah.
Love the ports. We have MagSafe as a charger, up to 140 watts from the brick, which is very large.
It is very large, but we were talking about how there are cell phones out there now with
huge bricks.
Charging.
True.
Yeah,
but like MagSafe, I never really used long-term a laptop with MagSafe. I kind of joined right around the USB-C, all that happening.
Okay.
You can still charge laptops with USB-C, by the way. People were wondering that.
Okay.
But if you want that fastest charging, MagSafe is back.
Can I just quickly say, with a braided cable also, which I'm very excited for. My old MagSafe cable, when I was in college, I was like doing work one day on it, and I heard a pop and smelled smoke, and the cable like next to the computer had like frayed and somehow like shorted it or something like that, and I had to go get a new charger. So I'm hoping the braided cable will fix that a bit.
Well, the other good thing is it's separate from the brick. So if that happens, you can just get rid of the cable or the brick.
It used to be like that also, but like I think it shorted the brick due to, I don't know exactly what it was, but yeah, it was bad news. It's not fun having to spend $80 on a new charger when you're in college.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
This one, I hope it's good. It should give you half battery in half an hour, which is pretty sweet. So that's one good port. Then we got full-size HDMI. Out of nowhere. I don't have a lot to say about HDMI, but it's back.
It is always a good thing to have because having a random HDMI to C dongle is way less common than like a just like C expansion dongle or an SD card like reader or something like that.
Right. So there's no like single HDMI dongle. It's always part of another bigger dongle.
There are some. It's just like no one has one just like laying around really. We're a whole tech studio, and if we ever need that, it's very hard to find somewhere in here. We have like one hidden somewhere.
So that's good to be back. We're not sure if it's HDMI 2.1 or what the spec is of it yet, but fingers crossed there. Then we have 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, so that's good. No full-size USB, but there is a headphone jack, which supports higher impedance. Well, it's always had the headphone jack, but it supports higher impedance headphones now.
Okay.
Which is a very pro touch because higher impedance headphones would typically require you to plug in via USB a separate DAC, which then you'd plug the headphones into. So not only are you saving a port, theoretically, if this internal DAC is really good, but you still have, like your head, it just plugs right into the laptop and that's nice and convenient. So that's cool. And then the SD card slot is back, baby.
We all wanted.
And an SD card slot enabling fast access to media.
That's what I was really pumped about. I saw that slot on the side of the laptop. I was like, this is game changer. People are going to get this laptop.
Game changer. I like how game changer is something they took away from us
I
and
know.
then brought back.
That's the fun part about all of this is like we used to have literally everything I've just talked to you about. Other than the high impedance headphones, all these ports used to be on the MacBook Pro. So USB's here. It's faster with Thunderbolt 4, but like we've had USB for a while.
Yeah.
Thank you for HDMI. Thanks for SD card slot.
We have to give Apple kind of like, I'm not giving them full credit because they didn't admit how wrong they were by taking it all away from us, but they did bring it back. So I'm not going to like jump from the rooftops that this is like some groundbreaking reimagined ports, but like we're very happy they're back. Let us be happy they're back.
Yeah. The language in the keynote was really funny.
Love watching them just like
some
try
of those,
to skirt around.
Those moments of like, pros appreciate the flexibility of multiple ports. Just like you hear them say this and you're like, yeah, but you're the ones who just anyway.
You did this. I mean, and if you want to talk about things that they're fixing that they caused the problem for, let's go to the keyboard now of the new. It's so much better.
Yeah, so typically we have MacBook Pros with a touch bar, which is a half-size strip of touchscreen at the top. Mixed reception.
Wasted space, yeah.
Thought it had potential, honestly. When it first came out, I was like, oh, this could be really cool if developers make cool stuff here and if this like starts to... But it didn't turn out to be that great.
I think there are very few people who love the touch bar.
Right. So
they're coming out of the woodwork now that it's gone.
Exactly. But, pick them up now while you can because it's gone and we have replaced it with a full-size row of actual buttons, function key buttons.
Never seen before.
Yeah, never before seen in a laptop. No, but there's still Touch ID over on the far right-hand corner, which is nice. And then all those buttons are real and physical. And I actually like the keyboard. The keyboard's like inset inside the laptop, and that whole keyboard well is black now, which is a subtle thing, but it, again, sort of has retro vibes and it makes the new design look different, and I like it.
It's really funny because we were setting up an older MacBook just for Adam to use for the week, and I was using the old butterfly keyboards. Like it was right after the event, and I was just like, "We've come so far." They really just destroyed this laptop before finally fixing it. They did everything wrong. I feel like to get to that point.
It was definitely like boiling the frog. What's the saying? Where like if you slowly,
you've
never heard this? Oh, like if you just put a frog in a pot of water and slowly turn up the heat, it won't realize that it's boiling until it's dying. And
no animals were harmed in making up this podcast.
This is a common saying because I've used all of these keyboards for the past like 5 years, and I never really thought like every year it would get a little bit shallower and a little bit shallower, and I was like, the keyboard's a little shallower. It's kind of annoying. And then the next year it'd be like, the keyboard's a little shallower again. That's kind of annoying. But now that I'm using these and I went back to the shallowest one, oh my God, that keyboard's bad.
In the final review, I want you to like side by side like typing test on them or something. Because just setting that up, like just typing in a couple passwords and stuff, it was brutal.
It's rough. I can't believe they got that thin. So they definitely boiled the water on me, but I'm glad they're back again. So keyboard, thumbs up. And then the last big upgrade, I mean, they did improve the speakers and the microphone, but the last big upgrade is definitely the screens.
Yeah.
So like I said, 14-inch and 16-inch in the same form factor, essentially. It's slightly different dimensions, but as the 13-inch and 16-inch outgoing. But what we're really seeing here is the display thinned up the bezels and got closer to the corners.
Yep.
It looks pretty good. It's 3.5 millimeters all the way around. And then there's a notch at the top. I'll get to that in a second. Don't worry.
And don't worry.
I'll get to that in a second. But the display itself is 120 hertz ProMotion, so it's up to that higher refresh rate, and it's HDR. It's essentially a mini Pro Display XDR. It's using the same mini LED tech and gets way brighter, up to 1600 nits peak brightness in HDR content and editing, which is really exciting to have. I think John TLD, again, he just tweeted like, it would be a shame to use these laptops in clamshell mode. You know, you can like close them and plug them into a monitor, because that monitor now is probably better than whatever you're going to plug it into.
Yeah, unless you have an XDR,
Yeah. So that new screen is going to be awesome for editing, but let's talk about the notch. It's kind of weird that so the aesthetic now is there's a notch at the top in the middle that houses the new webcam. It's a 1080p webcam. Finally. Great.
Another big step for Apple.
They doubled the resolution. Thank you. But it's so wide that it seems like it has enough room for a whole Face ID suite, but they didn't put it in. And to me, first of all, it's like, okay, you're going to do that in the next one. You're going to put Face ID in the notch because now they all have to look the same, and you just waited a year and we all know it's happening. But let's say you don't care about that. You still got Touch ID on the keyboard.
Yep.
The other thing is the extra screen is up at the top to the left and right of the notch. That's all menu bar now.
Yep.
And that's actually fine. The way it was described is it's basically you're getting extra screen up there that you didn't have before.
Totally agree. Yeah.
Because a lot of the way it's really easy to think about it is, wow, the notch is cutting into my screen. The notch is just the last bit of the screen that you didn't get rid of. Does that make sense? Like you're getting more screen and the notch is just left behind.
Well, so it makes so much more sense here because like in a phone that was also the case, you know, you were getting extra screen and you were just kind of getting your notifications up there. The problem is on a phone, it's really easy for your notification bar to fill up and then you don't have that space. Yeah. You are never going to fill the menu bar and notifications or whatever up on a laptop.
We'll see.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't say never, but like it is far, far harder, and most people will not.
Sure.
So, yeah, you do get the extra thing. I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to complain about.
What?
That the menu bar is like 4 pixels longer than the notch. So rather than it just being perfectly flush with the menu bar, you like see the menu bar under the notch, and it's just this like little tiny thing that is super frustrated from a company that just takes design so seriously.
Seeing that makes me believe there's a reason for it. I just am not exactly sure what it is yet. I think it may just be because the area underneath the display or the area underneath the notch is a little bit taller than 16:10 or whatever aspect ratio they're going for. And so now when you full screen a video or full screen any app, it's going to full screen underneath the notch. The notch will never cut into anything.
Oh, that's another thing that kind of peeves me a little bit.
What?
It's like when you're in a full screen video and you have the bars above the video, it centers the bars as if the bottom of the notch was the top of the screen. So when you now black out the part with the notch and you add the extra black bars, there's more blank space on top and the bottom. I mean, these are super nitpicky things, but again, like in a design perspective, it would feel much better if it was evened out.
Yeah, if they could move it up a little bit. But, you know, it's never, the notch will never cut into anything.
No.
Which is good. But yeah, they're totally going to add Face ID to the next one that they make. It's just this one doesn't have it. And I would have actually been totally fine with Face ID in the laptop. Like Windows Hello, you just open the laptop, it looks at you with the webcam for like a second and it just unlocks. This would have been a more secure version of that with like their Face ID tech, but it's not here. So I have a feeling this is a notch that's going to slowly melt away to our eye. And I wouldn't be shocked.
I don't mind it at all. I think it's totally fine. Again, you're getting extra screen. It's just those little tiny things that kind of make it look not perfect. Or,
Yeah.
You know.
In an otherwise incredible machine, this is probably the easiest thing to like trash on, this notch.
I mean, it's the notch. It's easy to trash.
Yeah. But other than that, they're expensive. The 14-inch starts at $19.99. The 16-inch starts at $24.99. And you can max both of them out with the same specs, the same M1 Max and 64 gigs of 64 gigs of memory and all the high-end stuff, 8 terabytes of storage. And the highest end 16-inch, I think, will be $6,100. So you can spec it up pretty high.
I think the highest you can get with like all the programs like pre-installed.
If you like
whatever,
add
it's
Final
like
Cut.
$6,600.
Sure.
But yeah, 61 for max hardware and everything. So it's a really busy week. Marques has been here like all night editing. He's very tired right now, so I'm trying to not wake him up. But if you want to click that subscribe button so we can make more content so you can, when he wakes up, he's awake. Okay, yeah, click the subscribe button. Hey, morning. You know what day it is?
It's still Techtober, isn't it?
It is.
Let's go.
Click the subscribe button, click the like button, comment below. Get ready for more sick tech stuff. This camera. Just, yeah. Bye.